Episode 36. What if? Welcome back to One Extraordinary Marriage, where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of intimacy. You're here with Elisa DiLorenzo.
And Tony DiLorenzo.
And this week's episode is sponsored by Blow Up My Marriage.
Yes, Blow Up My Marriage. I want to thank all of you out there who have already taken the initiative to sign up with Dr. Corey Allen in his 16-week course, Blow Up My Marriage. This is a course that can transform your marriage no matter where you are. We will have links in the show notes, and if you want to check that out, you also can go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com.
I think he's only going to be doing signups for a few more days.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, you were looking at me like
you overstepped my boundaries on our sponsorship ad there.
I'm now sitting here with my mouth closed.
So go to the blog right there on the left-hand side, hit Blow Up My Marriage, and that will take you to it. Now you can go.
I was just going to say, he's only taking signups for a few more days because the course is filling up quickly. And so if you've been thinking about it, if you've got any interest whatsoever, I would jump on this because I don't think he's going to have, I think he's going to sell out.
Oh, he is.
Last
time I talked to him to make sure that he wanted to sponsor this show again, he was very close.
Okay.
So.
Well, yay for all of you that are taking that step in your marriage.
That's right.
Working to make change. That's always a positive thing.
And what this show tonight is about, this is a special show. We are taking a break from our stripped down small group podcast because 2 years ago, Elisa and I took the challenge of all challenges for us, which was having sex for 60 days straight. And for those of you who are new to our podcast and are wondering what the heck are you guys talking about, go back to episode 1 and you can get
we lay it all out on the line.
You can get to know us from there. But before we talk all about that and how excited we are with where we are today and where we're going to be moving forward, let's talk about our week.
Yeah.
What did we do this week?
This week was start of school.
It was. Amen.
We've only been talking about this for the last 3 weeks. I know you're probably thinking, all right, enough already.
But it's nice.
It's, you know what? I have to admit, anybody that's friends with me on Facebook knows that I was doing my Happy Mommy Dance Wednesday morning. I had 3 uninterrupted hours where I got an amazing amount of productivity stuff done. And it's amazing. You only have 3 hours, which is the same amount of time I had last year when Abby was in preschool. But there's something about the fact that both kids go to school at the same time, and it's just more efficient. And, really just budgeting my time better so that when the kids are out of school, I'm with the kids and I'm not trying to get other stuff done.
Right.
And, I can even see last week that was just making our family work better.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I'm working when the kids are at school and then the kids come home and until they go to bed, it's
just being productive during that time too.
Right. And so I'm not trying to get other me stuff done while they're around.
Right.
So that's been
a positive note.
Been a positive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went to the barbecue at your Twitter friend's house.
Yep. As many of you know, I love cycling, and I talk to a bunch of other cycling folks on Twitter. And there's a pretty good group of us here in San Diego that I've gotten to know and ask questions and learn new routes and places to ride and all that sort of fun stuff. So one of the guys at SD Velo Social, Ben, he invited a bunch of us over for a barbecue at his house, and it was really fun. We had a blast. I met a bunch of new folks. Met one of the guys from
Team Type 1.
Team Type 1. So Team Type 1 is everybody who's part of Team Type 1, they have Type 1 diabetes, and they race bikes. So it's pretty damn amazing, in my opinion, what they do at the level they're racing and have Type 1 diabetes. So it just takes a lot. You got to think about their sugar.
Right.
You got to think about their sugar. So what are they eating while they're riding and all that? Really cool. So we did that.
And it was really, I have to say, so you guys know that I'm barely on Twitter. It doesn't even register. And Tony's like a huge Twitter.
I don't know if I'm saying I'm huge. I enjoy it. I enjoy the interaction.
In our family, it's huge for you.
Yeah. I enjoy the interaction.
Know. I mean, it even got to the point where it was crossing date night, but that's all. That's all water under the bridge now.
Right. And if you guys want to follow me, it's at One on Fire. I would love for you to follow me, and I'll follow you back. It's cool. I enjoy the interaction I get to have with you throughout the week. It's not just on a podcast. I ask questions. I put a bunch of fitness stuff up there. I put stuff about marriage up there. I put stuff about cycling up there. And then I just put day-to-day stuff that's going on up there too.
Yeah, so he's not on it very much. Yes, that was sarcasm, in case you were wondering. Anyhow, I just have to say, it was really, when he said you were going out to, we've been invited to dinner, and I'm thinking, okay, who, I know all of our friends. I know pretty much everybody who would invite us to dinner. I'm like, who is this? And he's like, oh, a guy I met on Twitter. And I'm thinking, really? Like I kind of thought Twitter was sort of this, sort of nebulous, like we talk to each other, but, the whole face-to-face. It just seemed a little unusual that we would be meeting someone that you were Twitter friends with.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, it was really nice. And this couple, they have a daughter just about our daughter's age, and the kids got along fabulously, which is always a nice thing.
Yeah,
when you're going somewhere and you don't know anyone. And husband and wife just had a really neat dynamic. She's had some health problems lately, and he just made sure that she was taken care of. He's invited all these people over, and she's resting.
Mm-hmm.
And, he just made sure that she didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And could just enjoy. I mean, she and I got to know each other pretty well. And, as well as you can over a couple hours over dinner, and just had a really good time. And so it was really neat to see their dynamic in the midst of dealing with some health issues, to say, we're still going to be social. We're still going to do this type of stuff. And I'm, honey, I'm just going to take care of it. I will get the food. I will do this. You just rest comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of fun. And then, of course, we had the tears from Abby as we were leaving, because she didn't want to leave her new friend.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
her.
Good.
We've been doing our devotional. This week was a little tough. You fell asleep one night.
Yeah, one night I fell asleep.
Completely passed out about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, right around 9 o'clock, which never, ever
I mean, to
happens.
the point of, and I know you guys have walked in on your spouse where they're just completely out of it, where I walked in, I'm like, hey, Elise, and I mean, there was just no movement, no nothing. I mean, I washed up, I brushed the teeth, I mean, the light's on, I'm doing my whole deal, get in bed, read. I mean, there's no movement. So I figured that night wasn't going to be a night to take the lead in the bedroom.
Well, fortunately, that was one of my nights, so you didn't even have to worry about it, because that was
right.
Wednesday.
That was Wednesday.
Convenient for me.
Very nice. I'm glad that was you.
That was.
Gosh, what else has happened this week? Not really much else has really gone. It's been busy at work for me.
Uh-huh.
So we've been doing a lot of that. As many of you know, I got Fit Marriage rocking and rolling. And so one thing that we have worked out in our family, so I have the Dent Dude, which is our primary income, and I've had that for 7 years. And what the Dent Dude is I take dents out of cars. It's paintless dent repair. It's my trade. I've been doing it for 13 years, and I launched the business 7 years ago. And the greatest thing about the Dent Dude is I have a lot of flexibility, because I'm 100% mobile. I don't have a shop. I do it out of my house every once in a while, but it gives me a lot of flexibility to work on one and Fit Marriage stuff and whatever else I'm doing. So one of the big things, though, is when I'm slow, I would come home after work, and I would usually just sit down in our garage, and I would work on whatever I had to do, which would aggravate me, because the kids and Elisa would expect me to be doing stuff around the house because I was here, and it would aggravate Elisa.
Oh, yes.
Because I wasn't paying attention. So one thing we've been working on the last couple of weeks is, if I have a day where I get all my work done, say by 3 o'clock, and I have a couple hours, I'll just mosey on over to a Starbucks or to a coffee shop or somewhere where I can get some Wi-Fi, and I'll just pound out whatever I have for an hour and a half. I'll respond to emails. I'll do whatever I need to do with either of, or any three of the businesses at this point. and I'll be home by 5:30 at the latest. And I will have to say that has been a huge help on our marriage. And so, if you're self-employed out there or you got stuff going on at work, I would say give it a shot. Make sure you get that stuff done and leave it. Mm-hmm. And that's something I've really been working on. So when I get home, 5 o'clock, the computer doesn't go on. I'm here. I'm present. I'm playing some games with the kids. I'm talking with Elisa. And I won't turn the computer back on until
kids go to
bed. And depending on what I have, I try to do. I try not to do so much and overkill because Elisa and I still want to be doing our devotionals.
Yeah, I think we're just sort of at a point right now where, with this settling back into the school schedule, and you actually even started this before probably in the beginning of August. I think
was the beginning of August.
Okay. Month. We're just getting smarter. I mean, if Tony is the sole provider for our family, and so for him to be gone, 9 to 5 is not that unrealistic.
No.
But with his schedule, he has the flexibility to be gone some days 9 to 3.
Well, and
some
when
days
the winter,
he doesn't leave
and
at 11 and comes home at 4.
Right, and when the winter hits, we've had years where it just rains and I can't work. There's nowhere for me to work, so I get stuck at home. And I would try to do this stuff, and it would just drive all of us insanely mad.
Right, because, face it, when your spouse is home, you kind of expect interaction from them. And we have a small... Oh, I know, crazy. And we have a smaller place, and when the kids see Daddy, they really could care less whether or not you have work to do. If you're home and you're not pushing a dent, they don't necessarily equate that what you're doing is work.
They don't. No.
And even when you are pushing a dent, the little one's right up in your business.
You don't.
I will accept that.
And actually, this weekend we had a couple of instances where the computer's on. I'm trying to do some stuff, and you're getting hiffy at me.
Oh, that was yesterday.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday
I'm just saying.
We kind of had a role reversal on that one because usually we're trying to get stuff done in the evenings, and I'm the one that's guilty of being on the computer, just checking one more thing. And so I come out last night. We're trying to do bed, and Tony's sending an email. I'm like, really? Right now? So important that you send an email?
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, because the person was just waiting on the other end for that email.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very non-committal. Mm-hmm. And then it was really funny because we'd already, here's a silly little thing, but we'd run the dishwasher earlier. I come out, I have to reload the dishwasher because we had more dirty dishes, and I also wanted to do laundry. And so I come out to the garage, and he's like, I wonder if I can, take the dishes out of the dishwasher. And I said, yes, I was actually going to start doing that, but then I remembered I had to do laundry. So, he's like, I'll take care of it. So I finished the laundry, go in, do the dishwasher, and make it to bed to read all in the time that he has not gotten off the computer to come inside when he had asked me about the dishwasher. And,
you're pissed.
I was a little upset. I was just like, really? You asked about the dishwasher and you didn't do anything.
Well, I was going to get to it, and you just decided to take care of it.
Because I thought when you were asking me that you were going to
jump out of my seat and do it.
Right then.
I understand that now. I
was like, what is this problem?
I was just going, okay, if it needs to get done, I'll get it done.
Okay. So we had a little role reversal there on a couple of those things. I mean, it's fine. We were laughing about it last night too, but just sort of those little things that, quite honestly, if you don't talk about them,
can really start to
if you don't come clean with it, I could have gotten really kind of pissy with him and been like, well, I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you why. You got to figure it out. Think back over the last 3 hours what you did that really made me mad.
Yeah.
Well, good grief. And so I just, in a loving way, said that really bothered me. Because what I understood from you saying, can I get into the dishwasher now? Is it cooled off? Is I'm going to get up and I'm going to do the dishes. And so we just talked through it, and it was a non-issue. By the time we discussed it, it was a non-issue. It didn't really lead. You don't think so?
Talking about it, you were still very closed. You didn't want to discuss. I don't want to say you didn't want to discuss it, but you were just very like, okay, it's done. I want to read.
Well, I did want to read.
So by the time we finally talked through it, and I let you know that it wasn't really a big deal and I was going to take care of it, and we just worked through some of the issues of me just not jumping on it right when I said I was going to jump on it, and you accepting that,
Okay,
then we
so
were
we
able
talked
to.
through it. And
Yeah,
then
we
it
did.
Then it was done.
Okay. All right. Last week's show, calendar it and take the lead. It seemed to draw a good mix of emotions. A lot of good, actually. If you haven't jumped on the blog and seen what episode was that? 34 last week?
Last week was 35. This is
35.
36.
Okay, sorry. So episode 35, Mary left an awesome comment on calendaring it. And-
You got to read this.
and it was really cool. We then had a voicemail from our good friend Tim in Atlanta, and here's what Tim had to say about his marriage, rejection in his marriage. Take it away, Tim.
Hey, Tony and Melissa, this is excuse me, Tim from Atlanta. I'm just out finishing a walk up, so if I'm breathing heavy, this for that reason. I just wanted to give a call and chime in. And you know, my wife and I have been married for 20 years. Just this past 6 months ago, a few months ago, and probably for the 18 years of that, I was feeling rejected a lot. And
Wow.
you know, as you guys were talking about near the end of the podcast, and you know, truth be told, I think that's taken place a lot more than what people would like to think. You know, the first year of our marriage obviously wasn't that way for the honeymoon phase. And the last year and a half, 2 years has not been near as bad because
Awesome.
we've realized this, and we've had a lot of talks about it, and you know, you can't say it's perfect now, but it's so much better than what it used to be because we realize the damage that's there. And I know I'm talking from the man's perspective, and really it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to put words and not sound like it's, I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. Hopefully people understand what I'm saying.
They do.
That she realized what she was doing through some discussions, some open discussions, talking about it, and without the talking about it, we would have never come to the understanding what it was doing to us. And so I'll leave it at that and won't go any further, but just want to say that there is hope for those that maybe don't see the light at the end of the tunnel there. And you guys are a good example, and I think we're starting to become a good example over the past couple of years. And I want to thank you guys for what you do, and hopefully my wife will start listening soon. I've been talking about it, and
Cool.
hopefully she'll start listening soon. Thanks again. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for calling. And, you know, I think you're right. I do think that rejection happens a lot more than people talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because think about it. If you're the one being rejected, it's not like you're going around to your buddies or your girlfriends saying, my spouse doesn't want me.
No.
And if you're the one doing the rejecting, you're not going around saying, hey, I'm on such a power trip. You know, I told him no again last night, or I told her no. I mean, so you're not talking about it.
Right.
And that's part of what we strive to do on this podcast, is to kind of unearth some of these things that don't get talked about, and to say, you know what, these don't have to be destructive behaviors in your marriage. You can choose to stop doing this. It's a choice.
That's right.
It's a choice. And so to hear that the last, couple of years have been so much better for you guys, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you are right. You are a source of hope to
You
others,
are.
because there are a lot of people listening going, oh my gosh, they've been married that long, and look at how they've changed their marriage.
That's right.
That's huge. And I want to thank you for calling in and sharing your story with everybody in the One community, because that's what we want to do. We want to provide hope.
Mm-hmm.
And we need listener feedback. We need you guys calling in with your stories, with your struggles, your success, because that's how we can help each other make stronger marriages.
That's right.
It's not just about us. It's not about us at all.
We're just the catalyst, and we hope that by being the catalyst, you guys out there are just running with it, and you have just as amazing and successful marriages as we do, because then you can be the light in your community, talking, sharing, leading a small group, doing what you do in your everyday marriage to shine a light on people who just need some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, that's cool. I mean, that's what we love about being behind the mics.
Right.
Is that we get to share with you guys, and we know that you're going out there and making a difference in your community all over the world. And that's awesome. And Tim, make sure to email us, asktony@oneextraordinarymarriage.com, and we're going to get you your prize package.
Absolutely.
For being for that voicemail, because that is so awesome, and it really leads to what this podcast tonight's all about, because it was 2 years ago when Elisa and I took on the challenge of 60 days of sex,
mm-hmm.
and we had no clue where we would be. And to say in the least that we are completely surprised with where our marriage is, which is the most important thing, it's 2 years later, I'm in awe, because it took me a decade to realize that I needed to even date my wife again. And for many of you who have been married for less than that or more than that, it's something I hope you've gotten from our podcast that is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a journey that we've been on.
Well, and when we were talking about what we were going to do for this podcast, because you'll be listening to this on Tuesday, and Thursday is the official. Well, because we started on September. Oh no, I guess
1st.
Wednesday is September 1st. And we started every once in a while. I'm sure you find yourself doing this, playing the what if game.
Mm-hmm.
What if? And so we took it back. We took it back 2 years. What if Tony hadn't thrown it out there? Hey, Elise, what if we try this? What if I hadn't said yes? Where would our marriage, it's hard to even try and guess where our marriage would be.
Yeah. Because
it's changed so dramatically in the last 2 years. It is so much deeper and so much stronger. Not to say that it's perfect, because believe me, you guys hear every week when we start our show about all of our imperfections, and we're talking tonight about how I was just a little cranky about the dishwasher. Give me a break. Is it really that important? No, but that just goes to show just one of those imperfections that comes up.
Right.
But the fact that Tony and I can even talk about that with each other and with all of you is not a place where we were 2 years ago.
No, not at all.
First of all, we wouldn't have been behind the mics. The events of the last 2 years have strengthened us to the point where we are comfortable laying out our marriage, mm-hmm. laying out, broad painting pictures of our sex life, and what we've gone through in the past. Both of our parents have read the book. And
if you haven't, you can pick it up at oneextraordinarymarriage.com, and just click on strip down and pick it up, ebook, audio, or physical book. And
both sets of parents have said to us, wow, didn't know that about you guys, about different aspects of our journey. And we probably would have still had some of those secrets from our parents.
Sure thing.
I
don't think it's something I would have brought up. We're definitely more free with talking. I think my point or my position for this podcast, and yours could be different, but for me, I just want to give you guys a place where you can go, there's hope. Because if we didn't do what we did 2 years ago, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I think there was a lot of forces against us doing what we wanted to do 2 years ago. And sometimes when we're in this place where we don't know what's going to happen, we have a very narrow view.
Mm-hmm.
And so we never think we're going to get out of it. We never know if we're going to get out of this forest and see this grandeur, this picturesque picture of, everything we want to see.
I feel like we're on a hike.
We are. This is sort of like
I'm
my
like,
hike.
this is a hiking analogy. I remember being stuck in the forest behind you, not knowing if there was anything up ahead of us.
Right. And so really, I just want to talk about you guys taking that step. You guys making that decision today to start walking forward, to start looking at your marriage, to start making a difference in your marriage, not having to worry about what ifs, in the sense of what if this doesn't work out, what if this does work out. Just release all the worry and give it to God. And I know that's hard. Because I've been battling with some issues this week that I'll get into, but you got to just let it go and start walking if you really expect to be somewhere different. And I know it's hard. We couldn't sit here and in good faith tell you that it's easy, or we just couldn't be here and not tell you that it's going to be hard.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
It's a process. And so often, we almost, as humans, become paralyzed by our fear of the unknown. We get to a point where being in our comfort zone, however miserable we are in our comfort zone, is more comfortable than taking any type of step outside of that box.
Right.
Because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to be better or if it's going to be worse. But sometimes we're so miserable that, to do something like get involved in the Blow Up My Marriage, or to go seek marriage counseling at your church, doing any of those types of things, to, come clean with somebody and say, you know what, I'm struggling with pornography, or these are my issues. It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been getting emails over the last couple of weeks where a lot of people are paralyzed by fear, by fear of the unknown, by fear of possible repercussions to a conversation they need to have, to a decision they need to make, to a suggestion they want to make. And, it really goes back to making decisions, to taking the lead, to saying, you know what, I'm going to get involved in a course that's going to help my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to suggest to my spouse, you know what, we need to try counseling because I'm concerned about where we are in our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We get so like, oh, I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know what she's going to do.
It's a tough place to be, though.
It's a tough place to be. And we've been there. We've been, you guys that have been with us, over these last 35 episodes know what we've gone through in our marriage. And if you're just jumping in, quick summary. I mean, Tony's dealt with how many years? 19-year addiction to pornography. We have been over $50,000 in credit card revolving auto debt in our marriage. We have lost a child.
Yeah.
We've dealt with some of these
lying, cheating, not telling each other the truth, putting on the masks, hiding from arguments, disagreements, walking away from each other in heated arguments and disagreements, screaming matches.
We've done a lot of the big stuff.
We've been there with you. We know. And we're summarizing that into, 10 seconds of airtime just to say, you know what? We've been there. Mm-hmm. And obviously you can, if you're interested in hearing about any more of those specific topics, there are different podcasts early on where we really kind of tear into some of those specific topics. But the reality is that in each one of those issues, we had to make a decision related to our marriage on whether or not it was going to move forward. Right.
we had to say, it was the what if. What if I don't do anything? What if we stay where we're at or doing what we're doing? What's that going to look like? Or what if we make a change?
And for us, that change, a lot of it was physical intimacy. A lot of it was sexual intimacy. And, it broke down a barrier. Having sex for us was something that allowed us just to be uninhibited. I mean, it just released us from everything else that was going on, and we had a common goal that was
specifically in the 60 days.
In the 60 days, yeah.
I mean, and I think that's really what we're talking about is that in that 60 days, this was something that was going to happen
60
daily.
times. That's what our goal was. I mean, we got 40, but it was something that we had a common goal and we were trying to achieve. And during that period, it was through a lot of just having sex. We worked together through a lot of stuff. I mean, it was the challenge of us being together and trying to make this happen that we were able to almost set aside a lot of these issues that we were just sort of grumbling and sort of that were nagging at us. And we could put those aside. Now, at times during the 60 days, things came up and we knew that we only had so much time to discuss or to really just fester on something.
Right.
Because really the next day was going to come around and we wanted to have sex again. So we couldn't sit there on something as minuscule as, say, the dishwasher episode that we just had and sit on that for 2 weeks. I mean, I know couples that have had arguments like that, and seriously, it's unresolved 2 weeks later. So that is one thing that Elise and I learned quickly, was how to resolve issues quick and get it over with.
Right, because I know when we had, in some of the earlier podcasts, when we talk about not being able to have sex, make love when you're angry, and some people have said, well, I can do that. If you can, I find that to be incredible because in our marriage, we can't. If there's something going on any other realm, we are not physically intimate.
Right. For us, we need
to have the rest of our lives smooth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there could be stuff going on, but if there's an issue between the two of us, we find it very difficult, if not impossible, to have any type of physical intimacy if that's unresolved. But again, I totally lost my train of thought right there. That doesn't happen very often.
Unresolved issues, angry sex.
That sounds like a whole nother podcast right there. Don't let there be unresolved issues. Work through those, whatever they are. And when you're starting, if this hasn't been the model that you've followed in your marriage, then you need to work on making that be a goal. If you've been one of those couples like Tony was mentioning that can draw things out for weeks and weeks and
fester on them
and fester on it,
hold grudges against your spouse on.
I was a grudge holder.
Mm-hmm.
Tony spent many years married to a grudge holder. But again, we've learned quick problem solving, and it's not like we're dismissing it and it's going to come back up later. I mean, we share these things for the benefit of you guys, even if it's been a couple of days since it happened, but it's not like the next time we get upset at each other and be like, and then there was that time that you didn't do the dishwasher as fast as I wanted. It's over.
Right.
It's over. It's kind of that for us, the don't go to bed angry, although sometimes that happens just because somebody falls asleep. But it gets resolved within 24 hours.
I think our walk with Christ has been a big component of it over the last 2 years too. I was on my ride today and I was telling one of my riding partners that I feel I got baptized. Lisa and I both got baptized 10 years ago in October. It'll be 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't think I have I think my real walk with Christ started maybe 4 years ago, 4 years ago. And I do believe that over the last 2 years, our walk with Christ has become much closer to him. And as we've gone closer to him, obviously we've become closer together.
Definitely.
You know? And so I think that's another big area looking back over the last 2 years to go, wow, now do I still struggle with stuff? Yeah. I mean, sometimes I still worry and struggle with the trusting in God. But I believe that as I've dived more, or have dove as I dive more into the Bible.
There you go.
Nice. I get closer with God, and I really see what I'm to be doing as a husband.
Which makes life easier for me as the wife.
Yeah.
And it's true, you know, this whole what if, look back, you know, down memory lane. I mean, we've talked about that in the past, that there are just times when you have to look back at where you've been to see where you're going and see the impact that a particular decision has made in your life. I mean, you guys know when Tony first threw this out at me that night in August 2 years ago, I shot him down so fast. I was like, you are a crazy man.
Yeah.
And the reality is that I would not have the marriage I have today if he had not ever thrown that question out.
Right.
It took him saying, okay, you know what? I got this harebrained idea. I'm just going to throw it out there and see if it sticks on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't. At first, it was like, no, not interested. But it was there. It was in my consciousness working.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day I was able to say, yeah, let's try this.
Yeah.
Which was a big step for me. Because not only was this a crazy idea, but I was agreeing to go along with it.
Yeah, you were.
And, you know, sometimes we have to do that. Sometimes we have to say, you know what? One, I'm not sure I can do this. And I wasn't. But I figured, you know what? It's 2 months. It's not like it's going to kill me. But I wasn't sure I could do it. But I figured if he was willing to try and I was willing to try, what was the worst that could happen? You know, I mean, there really was no worst case scenario.
No.
You know, when you play it out.
Yeah. I think the thing is, though, and we've had a lot of people go, but I'm not going to have sex for 60 days straight. So how do I get where you guys are if we're not going to do that? And so I think here's some quick tips from Melissa and I on what you can do to start moving forward with your marriage and not doing 60 days. Mine would be, number one, pick up a devotional you like and start doing it. And make that a goal for you guys. Make it a goal for 60 days, 90 days. Do it. Answer the questions truthfully, honestly. Take off the mask. Share from the heart. Work through some of these tough questions. And put it down there. Make it something you're going to do every night. Mm-hmm. Just like Elisa and I, our goal was to have sex every night. You need to do the same. This is a priority, and it needs to happen. And you guys both need to be there. And I think the reward for that is then starting your intimacy lifestyle. Start up 2 days. I think 2 days a week is good. Let's just put it that way. Why I think that is
good.
The reason I think that is that both the husband and wife both get to take the lead once a week. Like Tim said in his, the rejection stops on both sides. It is the power of having sex isn't being used in a way to manipulate or to gain power over your spouse. It takes that out of the equation. So that would be my second thing. So devotion, get your intimacy lifestyle going.
I go back. I talked about this last week. I think you have to make your bedroom a no rejection zone. And I'm not just talking about the sex side of things. You have to have in your marriage a safe place, a sanctuary. a place where, away from all of the hubbub and the craziness. I mean, that's why in the book we talk about getting rid of the electronics out of the bedroom and all the distractions. It's a place where you can light the candles and you can just be.
You lit some candles this week.
I lit candles this week.
They smelled really good. There was like a vanilla berry.
Well, I had vanilla candles, and then your aunt had given me some berry candles, and so
it's very nice.
You know,
very soothing.
It is soothing.
Good for lovemaking.
I strongly recommend candles, and we have them on wall sconces, so they're up above where the kids can't get to them. But the reason I go back to that, I totally agree with the two things that Tony said, but I think when you decide that life is going to be no rejection from your spouse, and we face enough rejection, enough crud in our day-to-day life outside of our home. It's part of human nature. Somebody cut you off on the freeway, somebody, is rude to you at the store. There's just all kinds of stuff that we're bombarded. You need to have a safe place.
Right.
You need to have a place where you can say, you know what, can we just talk for a few minutes in the bedroom? Or I just need a hug. Can I just get a hug from somebody that's higher than, 3.5 feet tall? Those are good. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes you need a grown-up hug.
And guys, this isn't the hug where you start grabbing her bottom and start grinding on her. All right.
Right.
This is the hug of, hey babe, I love you, and that's it. And you walk away, even though I know, because I'm a guy, you want more. You just sort of walk away, give her a kiss, and go, hey babe, I love you, and that's all that is.
You'll probably get more if you don't be so grabby about it.
I've learned that the hard way. Yes.
That's a little on the side.
Yes.
And the other thing I would say is, don't be afraid to take action. The emails that we've gotten over the last couple of weeks, I was talking to somebody earlier today too, where it was, you kind of have this wishy-washy, I'm not sure what we should do. And Tony and I were having this conversation over the weekend where, so many people are saying, well, we're going to pray about this situation. We're kind of, that's where we are. And don't get me wrong, we are huge believers in the power of prayer. But like I told Tony, God gave us the ability to move and act and make things happen. And so sometimes what he's waiting for and what you need to do is get up and make things happen. It seems like sometimes we just sort of sit there and say, well, I'm going to pray about it. And that's good. And in some cases, that's even great. If you've never been one to pray about a particular situation, you all know I pray during sex if it's not, if I'm not there. But you got to make things happen. You got to say, you know what? I care so much about you. I care so much about our marriage that I am going to work to make things better. I am going to step up to the plate and I am going to serve you as my spouse. I am going to, Tony does the dishes and cleans up the kitchen almost every night. He's pretty amazing at that. And he does all of our tech stuff. I just get the privilege of sitting here and just talking to you, and he does all of the other make it happen, get it up type stuff. It's all him, and I am so thankful for that because I have zero interest. You would not hear One Extraordinary Marriage podcast if it wasn't for Tony. But he does that for me so that I don't have to be burdened with it. If there are things that you can do to make your spouse's life easier, do it. Don't keep score. So many of us say, well, I did this, but you didn't do that. Right. I was guilty of it yesterday. Like I was doing the laundry and I'm trying to do the dishes. Could you have at least stop keeping score? Marriage, you're not going to get to the end of your 50 years together and have somebody, pull out the scorecard and say, well, he did, 4,226,000 things and she did 4,227 things. Oh, well, we've got a winner. No. You want to get to 50 years going, those were the best 50 years of my life. We worked together. We made some amazing memories. Good and bad. but I knew that he or she was always there for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get to the end of your 50 years or 60 years, I mean, good grief, my grandparents were married just shy of 50 years. Oh,
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. I think it was 50 years, a little over 50 years, before my grandfather died. I mean, they had their ups and downs, good grief. But
All of us do.
But they loved each other.
Mm-hmm.
They loved each other immensely. And, it was a good marriage. It was a good marriage. And that's all ultimately we want for each and every one of you listening. We want you to be able to look back in 2 years and say, what if I hadn't joined the One Community? Where would we be? Look at where we are because we did start listening to this podcast. We took their, Marriage Minute Monday tips. We read the book and were able to pull out that nugget that has made all the difference in the world.
Right.
We participated in discussions on Facebook or followed Tony on Twitter. And you know what? The people in that community have helped change our marriage for the better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we want to be doing this podcast another 2 years with even more success stories than we've already heard. Because between the 7 Days of Sex Challenge and everything that's gone on in the last 8 months of this podcast, there are some amazing marriage success stories.
Yeah.
And the what if for us is, what if we hadn't started the 60 Days of Sex Challenge? What if we hadn't spoke at a marriage conference 2 summers ago and had enough people ask us, so what'd you guys do and why and how did that work? To say, maybe there are a few people out there that care what we have to say. What if? And for us, we look at it and say, you know what? We know that marriages have been touched because of this community.
Oh, yeah.
Because of all of you, because you share things like, what's the most important trait? How did you phrase that question? What's the most important trait in a marriage? Quality. On
Facebook.
On the Facebook
Or
question.
Tim just calling in and really sharing from his heart about rejection. I mean, kudos to Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know if one guy is speaking that, there's probably 10 or 20 of you thinking it. And it's guys like that I just commend, and I just am so grateful to be acquainted with and know, because it's making a difference.
Yeah.
In his marriage. And it's shining and it's showing, and hopefully others are catching it, and it's becoming contagious. And it's one thing that I've learned over the last 8 months of being on the air, is that a lot of you guys don't feel safe talking about what's happening in your marriage, in your local church, or to a counselor. And I'm honored when you call us. I'm honored when you email me and you're telling me about your issues. Numerous of you have emailed me about your finance, pornography, and we've had some pretty good discussions. And you know what? If we're a place where you can come so you can feel safe, then praise God.
Mm-hmm.
Really. I'm here and Elisa's here because we want you to feel safe. We want you to take off the masks. We want you to be real with us. We want you to be real with your spouse. And it's only through taking off those masks and doing what we said that you are going to have a marriage where you're going to look back in 2 years and go, wow, it was tough. There were roller coasters, but look where we are now. Mm-hmm. And again, we're here. If you want to call us, if you want to email us, you know how to get a hold of us. If you want to comment on a blog post or a podcast, we're here. And we take all of them seriously. Sometimes we don't email back as quickly as possible. Some of you guys write really long emails, and it takes me a while to digest them and think about them and email back. It's just, I really, I think long and hard, and I give a lot of it up to God, and I just, And I just want to give you a little kick in the butt sometimes.
Kind of the tough love approach.
Because I think for myself, one of the biggest problems that I had was that at church, everybody goes, oh, let's pray. And you know what? That's fine and dandy. But sometimes you need to get a good, swift kick in the butt and point it in the right direction so you can get on moving.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what needs to happen. It's just like Elisa said earlier. You got to start moving forward. You got to put one step in front of the other and go after it. And no matter how hard it is, no matter how scary it is, you just do it. You make it happen. And for those of you right now that are in a situation where you're just like, there's no way, Tony. There's no way, Elisa. We can't. There's no way. I don't know how we're going to get out of this. There's too much anger. There's too much fear. We're crippled by stress or worry. I'm going to tell you, we're not counselors. You guys know that. But Dr. Corey Allen and his Blow Up My Marriage course, it's worth doing. It's 16 weeks. Do it. One of the steps that Elisa and I took many years ago before the 60 Days of Sex Challenge is that we sat down with a counselor. And the reason we sat with that counselor is we were having a lot of issues with Alex.
Mm-hmm.
But we learned a lot about ourselves in those sessions. And you know what? As a guy, I got to say, it wasn't something I was like, woohoo, this is going to be awesome. I'm sitting down with the counselor. I actually got to meet her. I actually found her through our son's preschool at the time. And you know what? For some reason, it clicked. And honestly, I came home and I told Elisa, I said, Elisa, we are doing this.
Needless to say, I was shocked because it just had never crossed my mind that he would even be interested in seeing a counselor.
Yeah.
And, you know, Karen did a lot for us.
She did.
She got us talking through a lot of, you know, we were there for, you know, parenting. That was, you know, the essentially the
reason we were there.
It was the reason that we were there. But you can't parent your children if there are issues in your marriage. You can't parent them very effectively if there's stuff that you and your spouse need to work through. And that was something that we didn't realize. You know, it was much easier to sort of put all the energy and all the blame on this little guy who's really just kind of mirroring
us,
what he was seeing in us.
Right.
And, you know, it's one of those things where if you're in a position where you need counseling, you need coaching, whatever it is that you and your spouse need, be open to that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, you know, if you have to try on, sorry about that, something with the tech side. Yeah, if you have to try on a few counselors to find one, do it. Don't just say, I'm going to try and find a counselor that I like. Right. Because sometimes you're not going to like your counselor. Sometimes they're really going to make you mad. Because sometimes they're going to put the responsibility back on your shoulders where it belongs.
Real quick
and that
story.
Doesn't feel so good.
Real quick story though. We have some good friends at our church, and they went to go see a counselor. They were about to get divorced, and they went to go see a counselor. And so counselor's listens to both sides. Finally looks at my friend, the husband, and there's tears flowing. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of angst. He looks at my friend and goes, "You're the problem." My friend, he got up out of that room, left, never to go back. But he said that is what he needed to hear. He needed to hear somebody be truthful and honest with him, because he finally got somebody to give him a jab in the gut that made him wake up. You know, and that was at that point that he finally just gave his life over to Christ and said, I'm done. I cannot do this on my own. I am a mess. I have a problem, and I don't want my marriage to go down this road any longer. And man, that guy, I love him dearly, and he has made strides, and he and his wife are happily married now, doing amazing stuff. And every time he tells me that story, and we get the opportunity to hear them speak numerous times, it brings tears to my eyes. So you're not alone, folks. We all have our things going on. We all have issues and pride issues and worries and fears. But are you willing to take that step? Willing to give it to God? You praying to him? You letting him know what's happening? It's no longer time to sit on the sidelines. It's time to get out on that field and play some ball. And sometimes playing ball hurts. So tonight, you know what? I feel led. I'm going to pray. I really am. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to close this thing down. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this community, for these folks that are here listening, Lord. It's an honor to be here with them. And Lord, for all those who are hurting, put your hand upon them. Show them the way. And I know that you'll be right there beside them through thick and thin. And for those of you who are just having an extraordinary marriage, amen to you. Amen. Keep it up. Date nights, take the lead, calendar it, do it, enjoy it, live it, share it. Because it's through you, when you shine the light upon others, that we can glorify our Heavenly Father. I thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
All right, you guys. Have a fantastic week. We love you.